lovely people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maya. If you've never been here before, hit that subscribe button down below. We have a good time here, I personally think. So today I am back with episode 2 in the Mindful Mondays series. So to kick this episode off, I just wanted to basically talk about the tarot reading that we did last week. What it's brought into fruition for me, so that then you guys can leave your comments down below of what it's brought for you guys. And then the end of this episode, we will do another tarot reading for this week going forward. So our card for last week was the Seven of Swords. So if you remember, this card was about deceit, secrecy, that kind of thing. So either you're keeping a secret from somebody else or you're being kept from something. So the way this card actually came into fruition in my life this week was I sat down and went over my finances, which was a really scary thing for me to do because I personally feel like quite guilty, quite worried about what my finances are going to look like because I spend a lot of money and I don't think about it. I don't budget, I just spend and hope for the best. So given that I am working a lot more now and money's coming in from a whole bunch of different angles, I decided to go over my finances and just figure out how much I need to be putting aside every month, especially because I'm hoping to not have to work in the first semester of college next year. So the way that this card came into my life was the fact that I stopped keeping a secret from myself. So I opened up, I looked through everything, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. If you do want me to do a video where I talk about my finances, what I'm doing for saving, how I kind of like budget-ish, what I'm spending, etc., let me know down below. Can totally do one of those, not in a Mindful Mondays video, but anyway. So this card manifested itself into my life because I stopped keeping a secret from myself. I told myself what I wanted or what I needed to see, not what I wanted to see, and I'm better because of it, because I now know how much I'm spending. I can be a little bit more conscious of it, and I now know how much I need to put aside so I don't have to worry about not having any money in my savings. So that is last week's tarot reading. So make sure you leave it down below how this card might have manifested for you, or how your own personal tarot reading that you might have done manifested for you. And then at the end of the video, we'll do another one. Also, I am filming this video on my phone today because last week's video was very out of focus, and because nobody is here and can't check my camera to see if I'm in focus, I figured filming on my phone, easiest way to do. So let's jump into today's topic. I'm just gonna grab my computer here so that I know I'm hitting all of the points, but today's topic is therapy. So I know this is like a big jumping point for our first video, but it is one of the things I'm super passionate about, and I just wanted to kick it off. I had another idea in mind as well, but I need to look into it a little bit further before I try and share my wisdom with you, because I currently have no wisdom. So I have written down a few points that we're going to talk about today, and also some options for you guys in terms of therapy that are not necessarily the conventional way. So first of all, I'll share a little bit of background about my story. There is a video where I do have, that I have on my channel that is an update, so I'll leave it up in the cards, about like my therapy story, but I figured I would just tell you guys that a couple of years ago, so fall of 2017, is it really that long? Oh my gosh. I dealt with a bout of really bad anxiety and possibly situational depression, and so I first started to see a therapist at my university I was at the time. Then when I came home, I decided I needed to see one more regularly, and through that process I've been able to not only figure out what happened in that situation, but in other situations in my life, and kind of like build up who I am as a person, why I do certain things, how to cope with certain things that I'm going through. So my first thing I want to talk about is, should you go to therapy? My personal belief is that if you have the means to go, you should go. One of the things that I've talked about before on this channel, I believe, is that I wish I'd gone earlier. I used to think that therapy was something where you had to be like officially diagnosed with something, or you had to really, really be struggling in order to go. But in reality, therapy can be beneficial for anyone going through anything, because we all have issues in our lives, and having this impartial body there to relay information back and forth, whether it's just to talk about what's going on or anything like that, even if it's not a huge problem, even if it's just something you're worried about, sorry, that was my phone, even if it's something that you aren't sure about, a job, a relationship, or you just want a sounding board for something that you're trying to do, therapy can be a great way to achieve that. So my biggest tip would be, don't limit yourself to feeling like you have to have a crisis to go, and think about what you want to talk about. Think about the idea of talking with somebody who's not directly related to you at all. They are not your friend, they are not your family member, they're not your partner, they're not anything like that, so they will be completely impartial, and nothing that you say about your situation will be told to anyone else, unless there's an emergency, of course, but you are protected by doctor-patient confidentiality. So that's really great. So it's just a great way to have a conversation. The next thing we're going to talk about is options. So if you do decide to go to therapy, there are lots of different ways that you can do it. There are lots of different types of therapy. So there's like a sit-down, one-on-one therapist, and there's different types of actual therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy or things like that. I'm not really going to get into the specifics of those, but essentially what my best advice would be to Google cognitive behavioral therapy your city, or cognitive behavioral therapy online, or something like that. But what I do want to talk about is the option of having an online therapist versus an in-person therapist. So I'm not sponsored at all, but one of the ways that I have seen people talking about is BetterHelp. And I have not tried it, although I am tempted. I'm not really sure yet if I want to do it, but I know that there's a lot of people who would prefer to remain more anonymous or not have to sit face to face with somebody if they still want to have their problems heard and their situation helped. So I looked up the top 5 online therapy websites, and essentially the way that they work is you pay a monthly fee. So at least the way that it works here, what you do is when you go to your therapist, they charge you for the session. So you're only paying for the sessions that you go to. The way it works online, you pay every month and then you reap the rewards that way. So if you would rather pay monthly, then you can do that, or if you'd rather pay by session, then it's better to do in person. So the online options, so BetterHelp, and I'll leave these all down below. So BetterHelp, Regain, which is couple therapy, teen counseling, Talkspace, and Breakthrough. These ones all have different monthly fees, different services, different reviews. BetterHelp tends to be the one that people talk about, but those are the top 5 that you can do. Now I just want to reiterate the fact, well, not reiterate, I haven't said it yet, that I am not a licensed therapist. I don't know anything about this except my own experience, but the one thing that they say on these websites is that if you are in a crisis, do not use them. They take too long. If you're in a crisis, you need to call somebody and get a hold of them right away. So that can be a hospital, that could be your current therapist, your doctor, psychiatrist, anything like that. I will leave some information down below. If you're in a crisis and you're watching this video, please get help. So you have a few options, and you can always find more simply by Googling therapy, your city, that kind of thing. Finding and choosing a therapist. So unfortunately, therapists are not all going to be the one that you want. It took me 2 different therapists before, well, I guess 3. The third was the therapist that I currently have. It took me that many people going and trying a few sessions at each before I found the one that I wanted. And it can be really, really discouraging when you feel like the person that you are talking to isn't a match for you. I wanted to give up because I was so frustrated with these other therapists not understanding what I was trying to say, not listening to me, telling me what I was feeling when I knew that that wasn't what I was feeling. So your best bet is to go give it a shot and then weigh the pros and cons. If you feel that it was a really natural conversation, that could be a pro. But if you feel that they're trying to get you to do something that you know won't work for you, that can be a con. Of course, you want to stay open to different ideas. But for example, my first therapist that I saw, she wanted me to do a meditation every night, like a relaxation kind of a thing. And I just have never been one to do meditation. I've never been one to do relaxation. And I literally dreaded going to bed because I didn't want to have to do it. And that is a reason to not. That's a reason to leave. If they are forcing you to do something that you don't think is beneficial, then go and find somebody else. There are so many people out there, like I said earlier, so many different types of options, online, in person, different types of therapy, different types of therapists. And so you are not limited to the person that you go with first. You're not limited to the fifth person, and you are not limited to the one that you do talk to for a little while, because sometimes people come into your life and you need them for a specific period of time and then you move on. So if something changes and you need to see somebody else, therapists will understand. That's their job. It's just like if you wanted to see a different family doctor, dentist, eye doctor, all that kind of thing. So how often should you go? I think that this is completely personal to you. Some people go weekly, some people go monthly, some people only go when they feel that there's a problem. For me, as somebody who's working through a lot of things, sorry if the framing's a little different, ran out of space. So what I was saying is I tended to go when I was really struggling with my anxiety being really high. I tended to go more often, once a week, once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks kind of a thing. Now I tend to go monthly, once every month, although I haven't been for a little bit because of my schedule. But that's another thing that's important, is to find a therapist who works with your schedule. I had a therapist who kept telling me that I wasn't putting enough time into therapy, and I was like, look, I'm working full time. I can't. Like, I have to make money too. So you have to have somebody who can respect your time as well. So I have to book another appointment, but right now going monthly for me works well because I can just break down anything that happened during that time. But if you feel that you want to go more often, less often, is completely up to you. If you are doing court mandated therapy, then that's a different story. But if you are going of your free will, pick your time, pick your frequency. It's totally up to you. Now, here's the deal. Therapy costs money. So we're going to talk about insurance. So in Canada, you can, depending on your plan, get coverage for this, for therapy. I know on our plan, we do get some coverage. I am still in my parents' plan, so it will vary based on the insurance company, based on your plan, that kind of thing. But what I did want to say is that if you are a student, take advantage of the mental health facilities on campus. So when I was at my old university and I was struggling, I didn't have to pay any extra money to go and see a therapist there because it's included in your tuition. Now, because this is a free service, it can be a little bit less on demand. It can be a little bit less on your own time because you do have to fit it in around all these other people. But I can't stress this enough that if you go to a school that where your mental health, where the mental health facility is paid for in your tuition, oh, there's a giant bee, then you need to use it because therapy can cost a lot of money. I'm pretty sure that in Calgary, Alberta regulates that the average price is between $280 and $290 a session. The recommended fee for individual therapy or couple family therapy is $200 for 50 minutes. So they range from $180 to $200 for a 50-minute session. Using the services you've already paid for in relation to your tuition, you can really save some money there, and these people will be able to help you. And worst case, if they cannot, they can point you in the right direction to somebody who can. Now, also, I would be cautious of using the online services if you don't know if your insurance covers it, because often those aren't recognized as like therapy by the companies, because insurance companies want to scam you. So yeah, don't do your research before you choose online versus in person, whatever is best for you. And honestly, the biggest takeaway from this that I want to give you guys is just the idea that therapy is totally individualized, and just because one person does it one way doesn't mean that you need to do it another way. If it's not working for you, do what is, because it's a major expense in your life and a major help in your life, and there's no point in doing it if it's not bringing you the satisfaction and bringing you the help that you need. So that is all for my therapy spiel. If you have any questions about it, leave them down below. I can do my best to answer them. Also, Google is your friend, but just be careful about the sites that you're using. Of course, I sound like a freaking teacher. I'm sorry. I'm going to go run and get my tarot deck, and we will do a reading for this week. All right, we are back. Let's throw these cards back in the deck. And it is the first Monday of June, so we will shuffle one time. And then we will split the deck once and draw the top card. So let us see what is in store for us. So we have the Son of Pentacles. This is a card that I get quite often. So let us grab the guidebook. Okay, so Son of Pentacles. Loyal, quiet, and dedicated. The good side of the Son of Pentacles is that he is loyal and determined. He is inventive and can be trusted wholeheartedly, but sometimes he can be stubborn and persistent to a fault. This, combined with his quiet nature, results in being hard to get to know and socially awkward at times. He commonly has one or two close friends rather than many. I get this card a lot, which always kind of like weirds me out because I'm not somebody who's hard to get to know. I'm an open book, but it is going to be interesting to see how this card manifests itself this week. Maybe a new friend comes in, a new relationship, or maybe being stubborn about a decision or something like that. So once again, if you have any stories about how last week's tarot card affected you, impacted your week, leave them down below. Any mental health questions, anything you want me to talk about in next week's video or the week after, leave it down below. Don't forget to subscribe. I post a new video of this series every Monday, and I'm doing some vlogs, some fun videos. I'm just so inspired right now to create for YouTube, so there will be more videos coming in addition to these. And I also have a blog, so make sure you go check that out. Every Tuesday there is a new post. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you got something from this, and I will see you next Monday.